Okay, let's try and unpack this. We've got sources here, reports, news snippets, detailing something that I genuinely never thought we'd be talking about.
No.
Forget your usual political analysis, forget international relations as you know them, because the material we have today suggests the king of the monsters, Godzilla, has gotten involved in human politics.
Involved is maybe putting it mildly. The documents we're looking at detail, well, a truly unprecedented convergence. You've got kaiju activity, massive destruction, and, well, it looks like political expression all rolled into one.
It's wild. So our mission here, based only on this material, is to figure out what exactly happened. Why did Godzilla reportedly do this? How has the world reacted? And what, if anything, does this bizarre series of events, as chronicled right here, tell us?
Well, the narrative, according to these reports, kicks off in Washington, D.C.,
Yeah.
the heart of American power.
Right. And it wasn't just him wandering through. The material suggests he showed up with a purpose. He didn't just arrive. He joined something.
That's right. A specific movement that was happening there, the No Kings protest.
Okay. So far, so weird. But then,
the reports emphasize he took that slogan, No Kings, to its absolute most literal conclusion. He marched on the U.S. Capitol.
marched on it. Like marched.
And apparently brought it down. The description of the Capitol building crumbling under his foot is, well, it's quite vivid in the source.
Vivid, yeah, I'll say. And the president. The reports mention something truly insane there.
Yes, apparently a very narrow escape. The source uses the phrase, narrowly escaped a resignation by stomping.
Resignation by stomping. That's a phrase I never expected to hear. So why? What do the sources say about why he'd do this?
Well, this is where it gets even stranger, perhaps. Eyewitness accounts cited in the materials suggest he was, and I quote, visibly irked by the idea of anyone else claiming royal status.
Irked. Godzilla was irked.
Apparently. They describe him roaring, something about being the only king, over and over.
So, wait. He shows up at a No Kings protest and thinks it's about him. He thinks they're saying he shouldn't be king, and he reacts by destroying the government.
It seems he interpreted the slogan as a direct, personal insult. It's an almost absurdly direct reaction described here.
Absurdly direct is right. There's even that detail in the report about a tourist's selfie stick, bent at a perfect 90-degree angle.
Yes, found near where he apparently stood. And he wasn't exactly subtle about making his point either. Atomic breath was involved, landmarks, didn't fare well.
Okay, so how are people analyzing this? There's a Dr. Thurston mentioned?
Yes, Dr. Rex Thurston, a political commentator, quoted quite a bit in the main report. He argues this wasn't really Godzilla protesting. His interpretation is that Godzilla was enforcing.
Enforcing what? His own kingship.
Exactly. Thurston's view, as presented here, is that Godzilla's actions basically screamed, if I'm not the king, then no one gets to be. It sort of reframes the whole thing.
So it turns No Kings from a political idea into,
as the source material puts it, the most literal interpretation of a political movement in history. A physical demolition job on any competing claims to authority.
Right. A very loud, very destructive way to make a point. Okay, but the reports say it didn't just stop in D.C., did it? This went global.
It did indeed. That's just the start. The material confirms Godzilla then went on what's described as a rapid worldwide tour.
A tour of?
Of disruption. Targeted disruption.
Targeted, so not just random stomping.
No, the sources detail a very clear pattern. He apparently went after monarchies and authoritarian regimes specifically.
Seriously?
Palaces, parliamentary buildings, reported dictator hideouts. Flattened across Europe, across Asia. It reinforced that literal interpretation idea, tearing down structures he apparently saw as rivals.
It's almost efficient in a terrifying way. Like, forget diplomacy, just point, roar, and demolish. So how did the actual human governments react? I mean, this is something else.
Well, the reactions, especially within the U.S., are described as incredibly divided. It's one of the most striking parts of these reports.
Divided how? Because the sources describe something, well, frankly, surreal with the Democratic Party.
That's exactly what the material states, yes. They reportedly embraced Godzilla.
Embraced the giant monster destroying capitals.
Positioned him as the ultimate symbol of that same No Kings movement. He sort of gate crashed. There's a quote from a party spokesperson.
What did they say?
Something like his dedication to tearing down oppressive structures literally is a powerful statement that aligns with their goals.
Wow. Okay. And the reports mention hairstyles.
Ah, yes. The spokesperson apparently adopted a spiky blue hairstyle to mimic his dorsal fins. and it caught on.
It caught on. People started doing that.
The reports mention a trend, particularly among younger activists, dyeing and spiking their hair, blues, even pinks like his fins. There's a quote from a teenager, Mia Gonzalez.
What did she say?
She says something like, "We're tired of leaders telling us what to do. Godzilla gets it. Plus, he's just cool." So he became this kind of anti-establishment icon for some.
So on one side, you have Democrats finding common cause with Godzilla, adopting his look. What about the Republicans? The reports paint a very different picture there.
Vastly different. And according to the sources, considerably more extreme. Their reported response after the D.C. event was, well, drastic.
How drastic?
They called for bombing all lizards.
Wait, all lizards, not just Godzilla, geckos, iguanas.
That's precisely what Senator Mitch McConnell is quoted as saying, apparently from a secure bunker. "This is an attack on our way of life," he reportedly said. "The plan. Bomb. Every reptile, iguanas, geckos, you name it."
That's insane. Logistically, environmentally, did anyone point that out?
According to the material, McConnell dismissed those concerns. He's quoted calling lizards inherently suspicious and framed it as national security.
Inherently suspicious. Lizards.
The sources even add that some suggested starting with Florida's alligators just to be safe.
Wow. The contrast is unbelievable. One side sees a hero, the other wants to wage war on, well, biology. We should definitely stress here, we're just reporting what these sources claim happened and how different groups reportedly reacted, not endorsing any of it.
Absolutely. It's a stark illustration of how different political groups can interpret the exact same massive, undeniable event in completely opposite ways. It really speaks to that tendency to find symbols or maybe scapegoats, right?
Yeah. One side sees liberation in the destruction, the other sees a threat so profound it justifies.
Well, bombing geckos. It says a lot about the lenses we use, doesn't it?
It really does. You have this immense, terrifying, politically active monster, and the reaction gets filtered straight through existing divides.
And this wasn't just happening in the U.S., right? How did the rest of the world leaders react, according to the sources?
The material says they were scrambling, trying different things.
Like what?
Well, two main strategies are mentioned. Some tried flattery, appeasement, offering Godzilla fancy new titles.
Titles like what? Things like Eternal Sovereign of the Seas. Trying to appeal to that whole king thing, presumably.
Stroking the giant radioactive lizard's ego. Got it. What was the other approach?
Confrontation, military threats, and in one case, a more personal challenge.
Oh, right. The Putin anecdote from the reports.
Exactly. Russian President Vladimir Putin reportedly vowed to fight Godzilla himself. Personally.
And he was looking for a specific shirt.
Apparently, yes. A shirt big enough to rip off dramatically before the fight. That detail is in there. It's memorable.
Memorable, yes. Definitely memorable. So where is Godzilla now? According to these reports, has he calmed down?
Doesn't sound like it. The material suggests he shows no signs of slowing down. Last reported sighting.
Where? Still tearing down palaces.
Lounging, apparently, in the ruins of a former royal palace. Just sort of basking in the glow of his own atomic breath.
Basking. Okay. And looking.
The Observer quoted the report, said he looked pretty smug.
Smug. Right. After all that destruction, he looked smug. That's quite the image from the source material. So how does the report kind of sum this all up?
Well, the conclusion drawn in the material is basically that, look, whether you see him as a liberator or a tyrant, the No Kings movement definitely got itself a mascot, a very loud, very large, very destructive mascot who makes his point very forcefully.
Yeah.
A 300-foot symbol of anti-establishment rage.
So when you step back from this, I mean, what does it all signify for us reading these accounts? It's just so bizarre, but it makes you think, right?
It does.
Why do different people react so differently, so extremely to the same thing? Even something as undeniable as a giant monster stomping on the Capitol, one group sees freedom, the other sees evil lizards.
And what does it mean when something that should be outside our systems, a force of nature really, gets tangled up in our politics so literally? It blurs that line between symbolic action and, well, actual physical destruction by a giant monster.
Who gets to decide what it means? And what does it say about us, about our own divides, that even this becomes just another fight?
It's a really complex picture these sources paint, isn't it? About power, authority, protest, even when it involves scales and atomic breath. How we project our own beliefs onto even the strangest events.
It really is something to mull over. These sources lay out this incredible story. A monster takes a slogan, literally, goes on a global rampage against kings, and splits human politics down the middle. Whether you'd end up seeing him as a kingmaker or a king breaker, I guess one thing the reports make clear is when Godzilla gets political, everyone notices.
And apparently some might even change their hairstyle.
Right. Maybe grab some blue hair dye.
Yeah.
Definitely something to think about.